There's two key elements that might actually put Ford and Stellantis out of business. Time's a ticking, the clock's a spinning, and unfortunately, these two elements are impacting these manufacturers like they've never done before. A lot of these pickup trucks now are priced in such a way that they're almost cost prohibitive. And while many manufacturers like Ford are bragging that they're selling vehicles at an alarming rate, as well as GM, the fact remains is it's not all on the retail market. The big threes have been enjoying a lot of success selling their full-size trucks, cars, SUVs. For example, like these, lots of fleet vehicles here. More fleets, Super Duties, half tons, SUVs. And as you look along this road, there's a whole ton more fleet vehicles. And aside from fleet vehicles, Ford hasn't had a ton of success selling much more than vehicles like this. This Ford Maverick has been one of the most popular sellers in the last little while. They finally hit a price point where people can start affording trucks. Yeah, they give you a basic grille, great tech on there, but this little XL model means that it's an actually affordable little truck for many people to get into, because these full-size F-150s are almost cost prohibitive for many, many people. I mean, the Ford right here, we have a Raptor, and it's a good looking truck. They have all the flares and all the goodness. You see the Raptor there and all the intake and the great grille on here. It's a beefy truck with a major set of large wheels. Of course, right here, I love that grille, and it's a beautiful unit. Has the 4 doors, Raptor, everybody knows what that is. And we have an F-150 Raptor 24. This 145-inch wheelbase, 3.5-liter V6 EcoBoost high output, 10-speed automatic transmission, and this actually goes for $127,235. Poof! And here's another beauty right here. We have a new Ford. As you can tell, it's got the new style grille on it. We do have that beautiful upgraded grille logo on there. Beautiful truck, and it's an actual F-150 Lariat. I personally love these trucks. I think they're great, but the cost is getting out of hand. If I had enough money, I'd probably buy one of these today, but they're a little bit pricey for me. And this one, as a Lariat, it also has a 10-speed auto, 3.5-liter V6 engine, and this one stickers at $91,265. That is serious money. What about some of their cheaper offerings? For example, like the Maverick, how much? Oh, look here, we have a nice little Maverick. Love this color, beautiful little rig. Yeah, they have the nice glossy wheels. This is an XLT model, so it's not the bare bones, the XL with the steel rims. This is actually slightly dressed up. You don't get a sunroof. It's still a fairly basic vehicle. You get some fabric seats in there, it's beautiful. You get the little infotainment system, and you also get extra little plugins in the box like this. You'll notice there, little tie downs, and a nice little cargo capacity for your smaller loads. If you just need to do a little bit of work, you do get the 4 doors, that's handy. But how much is this unit? Well, let's take a look here. We got the sticker, the window sticker here, the Maverick, and of course this is the 2-liter EcoBoost, 8-speed automatic transmission, as we notice right there, and it's $44,465. And that is a significant amount of money, considering this is now their base truck, mid-trim XLT, and people are paying probably out the door over $50,000 for that unit. We also know the Bronco Sports haven't been selling all that well. There's been a lot of quality control issues, fuel injector leaks, where they talked about putting some drip pans to actually catch the fuel that may go outside of the injector that's been cracked. There's an NHTSA warning on that one, and unfortunately Ford's gonna have to fix that issue. That also impacts the Escape with the same drivetrain. Oh, and here we have a Bronco Raptor version. Look at I love the military style wheels on there. Definitely some great tech. Look at this plastic parts, the little horse on the back, and I definitely love the looks of these lights. Tow hooks on there, lots of amazing. I love these flares on here, very impressive. But this Bronco Sport Raptor, Bronco Raptor here, as we see there, is actually stickering at $125,000. And the Ford Mustang Mach-E's haven't been selling all that well either. There's a couple here for sale. How much are these? This is a Mach-E X, and this one also is going for 68 grand. How about a Mustang GT? One of the favorites right here. A lot of people love this Mustang, and now they're going for $59,000 for those as well. Even the boy next door friendly Mustang GT is becoming cost prohibitive for many buyers. So a big part of the reason people aren't buying these and the company is at risk of going out of business is simple. Cost of living crisis, and people can't afford a $60,000 sports car by Ford or a full-size pickup truck for 90 grand or $100,000. $100,000, or a Jeep wannabe with a Bronco that's going to cost you 125 grand because it's got a slightly hotter engine. People don't have that money. But it's not just the cost of living and the expensive vehicles and the internal combustion vehicles, it's the electrification. Now we know Lightning is one of the most successful electric trucks on the market today, outsells the Tesla Cybertruck. And all because the electric vehicles by Ford, for example, like the Ford Lightning, they're not selling all that well relative to the rest of their mainstream vehicles because they're charged so much money. And a lot of people only buy them because they're incentivized. And while Ford's enjoyed a lot of success with the hybrid versions of the Maverick, those are selling like hotcakes. And as a result, Ford's decided to go hybrid with so many other models. For example, like the F-150, they're going to step that up too. But even Ford's realizing they can't remain competitive in the pure EV marketplace. Even though they've seen a little bit of success with the Lightning, they're not selling. And the retail market or the resale market on an F-150 Lightning is down in the toilet. Their EV division saw a $1.8 billion operating loss previously, and as well overall $5 to $5.5 billion loss is what they're expecting with the EV marketplace or their division. As a result, Ford needs to find much more competitive ways to continue operating in the full EV or battery electric vehicle space. They know hybrids are working, but the natural transition to electric vehicles in the future is where they're trying to get to, but the supply chain is choking out Ford. Sadly, the internal combustion engine supporters are going to find themselves constantly paying more and more and more for a new internal combustion engine. They can avoid buying an electric vehicle altogether. But did you realize the purchasing of a brand new Ford F-150 like this is literally going towards the development of the EV marketplace? And as a result, that's why these prices are so much. That's why people are paying $80, $90, $100,000 for internal combustion engine F-150, because it's there to enhance the research and development of the electrical vehicle space. And in doing so, Ford is finally realizing they need to cut costs is the only way to remain competitive when they got the likes of BYD knocking on the back door. The big three trying to enhance their electrification market are not going to be successful when China's pumping out these cars, trucks, and SUVs at a fraction of the cost. And then over at Stellantis, Carlos Tavares, CEO, is saying that we've got some major headwinds. Pardon the wind, that's exactly what they're looking at there with the big wins in front of them. And Stellantis being a collection of vehicles like Ram, Jeeps, Chryslers, as well as Dodge products like the Challengers, the Chargers, as well as the Dodge Hornets, which is just another rebadged Italian brand from Alfa Romeo called the Tonale. And the headwinds also over at Stellantis don't just begin and end with the cost of living crisis or the sheer price of a lot of these vehicles. 1,500 Hemi e-Torques like this that are going to cost you an easy $75,000. Even a Ram 1500 Classic, such as this vehicle right here, represents a very basic vehicle in the Ram lineup. But many of those are hybrid powered drivetrains, as well as the Jeeps. You'll notice the blue on there. This is a 4xe, and that basically means that we have a hybrid assist here. And so Ram, Stellantis, Jeep, Chrysler, they've all been trying to do their best to try to find that equilibrium, sell expensive vehicles to match up with the marketplace. And vehicles like this, we know the Ram, we have a Cummins. I love these vehicles. They're great workhorses. This has the Cummins turbo diesel, which is one of my personal favorites. It's a 3500 HD right there. Yes, you get the massive mirrors. You get these big beefy handles. I love the looks of these chrome glossy wheels. And absolutely, look at the deal. You even get branding on here called Ram. I love that. This is a limited, and clearly a truck like this, full size, this is a diesel single rear wheel, of course. This truck here is going for at least $120,000. So it's not cheap, and neither are the half tons, which, you know, even at a Bighorn, and we talk about some of the Bighorn vehicles and some of the sports and vehicles, these full-size Rams are even very cost prohibitive for a lot of people, costing as much upward in that $70,000, $80,000 range. And I literally just finished talking with a local sales guy at this dealership. Super nice guy, just gave me the bottom line, was super transparent, and shared the whole concept. Vehicles are selling with all these latest incentives. We know truck, Jeep, SUV sales here at Stellantis are selling, but that's largely due to in fact that they're hitting the incentives so aggressively. If they weren't, they wouldn't sell half these vehicles because they are so expensive. I mean, we look at a Rubicon like this, a vehicle like this, which is more or less with the shorter cab here. This isn't the four-door version, obviously a more base model, but it's Rubicon, so you get the locking front diffs, you get the extra size wheel here, locks there, painted top. This is a beautiful little Jeep, but these vehicles don't come cheap. Any Rubicon vehicles, even the two-door version like this, you can find yourself paying over $65,000. And even a Sahara like this is basically just a standard garden variety Sahara Wrangler with the 4 doors, painted, more painted, beautiful. This is a more or less an ICE, so no hybrid action here, but they're still quite expensive. We're still talking $75,000 for this Jeep. So no vehicles today on today's market are truly affordable. When we talk about the $400 a month of exposable income based on the average US American family, there barely is enough to buy any of these vehicles. And to make matters worse, vehicles like this Hemi e-Torque are partially electrified, and a lot of these manufacturers, including Stellantis, are realizing that the hybrid versions of electric vehicles seem to be the most palatable, the vehicles that most buyers are willing to buy, because very few buyers specifically want BEV or battery electric vehicles exclusively because the limited range, the high cost of the larger batteries, and all the limitations that seem to go with it. But with that said, to be competitive with the likes of BYD and other battery electric vehicle manufacturers, they're going to sharpen their pencils aggressively. When you get into electrification, to take that vehicle and convert it to electric, it's literally 40 to 50% more cost. But to remain competitive and sell their vehicles when most consumers don't want them, especially if the governments aren't providing those incentives, most people aren't interested in going battery electric. And that's the conundrum. So in order to be competitive, to get yourself a battery electric vehicle to market, they're going to have to start cutting costs, because there's very few customers willing to spend the kind of money that they cost to buy even a vehicle like a Wagoneer like this, or the Grand Wagoneer, which you can easily pay over $100,000 Canadian to get into one of these full-size SUVs. And while they might be luxurious, they're not truly a luxury vehicle, or at least Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, Stellantis is trying to pump them up to be a luxury brand. But are they? Now, Tavares is planning to send out a couple dozen new models that might be electrified, whether it's hybrid or full battery electric vehicles, in the upcoming years. As a matter of fact, $25,000 Jeep might be on the radar soon. And Stellantis is trying to get a cost-effective, affordable small Jeep out to market, because these vehicles are becoming much more cost prohibitive for your average buyer. Just like Ford realized with the Maverick, they're actually having to offer up a vehicle that's a little more affordable and a little easier for the average buyer to attain. But again, the CEO commented that in order to be competitive in today's market, especially when it comes to electrification and competing with the likes from China, for example, like BYD, that may be manufacturing their vehicles over in Mexico to get them on American soil, it's going to be a real strong, stiff headwind. With that said, they're likely going to have to start reaching out beyond the Western industries and look more in those markets that do things a little bit on the lower cost and the cheap and dirty, if you will. So on that note, Stellantis, Ford, and possibly even GM, but GM feels a little more optimistic. The reality is it's going to afflict all of these manufacturers. Trying to be competitive in a tight market that isn't really wanted by a whole lot of consumers means that they have to cut the bottom line. They have to be ultra aggressive. And this transformation or transition into the electrified market is literally the very change that might flush some of these manufacturers down. And with all of that said, check that out right there. Is Ford going bankrupt? Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.